godly women in our lives. My parents separated when I was very young, and consequently, I grew up primarily in the company of women. There were influential men in my life, many on the periphery, however. It was my grandmother, Vida Mae, who was known in the hills of Tennessee and Mississippi as Videy, and my aunts Ruth and Leslie, and even Aunt Leslie and Aunt Nancy, who loved me every day. I say even Aunt Nancy because she suffered a severe traumatic brain injury when she was very young. She could memorize, but she could never learn to read and write. And one of my earliest memories is of wanting to go to school so that I could learn to read and teach Aunt Leslie and Aunt Nancy, It made me aware of the best practices of teachers throughout my life. And then, of course, there are mothers. Proverbs 24:33 and 34 says, "A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a bandit, and scarcity like an armed man." Does that sound like the life motto of a woman you know? Well, it was one my mother believed and followed all her sometimes difficult life. Left alone in her early 20s with 3 children, she would not think of being dependent on her father. With her parents' help as babysitters, she learned telegraphy from a cousin who worked for the Illinois Central Railroad in Mississippi. Now, many of you maybe have the vaguest idea of what telegraphy is and the importance of the Morse code. It was the means of communicating information by Morse code to trains as they sped across the continent. The information was relayed to operators in depots in strategic stations along the route. And then those depot agents put the information on a piece of paper, put it on a forked stand, and held it up as the train sped by. There were 2 chances. The engineer was the first to try to grasp that piece of paper, and if he didn't get it, then it was up to the conductor. But what that did was relay information about the times of the trains, if they were on time, if they were late, if they were early, because often there was just one track, and trains were speeding in both directions. So this was vital information that was provided to the engineers of the trains. And this was during the war years. For the young among you, that would be World War II. So my mother was able to get a job. Her first job was as a station agent, replacing people that were on a 2-week vacation. We felt kind of lucky if she was replacing someone who was either ill or who had surgery, because then we got to stay in one place 6 weeks. Until that time, all the station agents had been men. So my mother piled the 3 of us, the woman that she had hired to care for us during the day, and all of our belongings into a little Airstream trailer, and we set off. Like the countless other women in the 40s who took the place of men in factories and in airplanes and in all the jobs that were left by the men who had gone to war. My mother's story is not unique. Each of you know a mother or a grandmother or an aunt or another woman influential in your life, a woman of noble character who is worth far more than rubies, who is clothed with strength and dignity, whose perspective is rooted in heavenly things and can laugh at the petty events of daily life. A woman whose beauty may be fleeting, but who fears the Lord to the last day. A woman whose works bring her praise, not only from those on earth, but also in the heavenly realms. They are too often nameless, but they are not forgotten by those they selflessly served. We can be sure that their names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Amen.